Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we venture our petty and ill-informed opinions about a variety of topics. Joining me this week from 13th Baker Street, Kent, Tom.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
He's a rocket scientist for the London Space Project as well. Also from Ireland, Kevo.
Hello there. It should be 221B Baker Street. Come on, Tom. Can you not get it? Can you not get a variance from the council so that you could do that?
Well, anything I say, I'm just going to get myself in trouble again, so I'm just going to shut up.
Oh.
Hey, and to our lovely chat, SoFlo, Gabby, and Rod. More people will trickle in as time goes on.
Yes.
I've been thinking lately that we should do what other streamers do and have some music on before the stream for like 5 minutes so everyone can trickle in and join.
Right.
But does that sound like too professional for our outfit?
Well, that's what I used to do on my other podcast. I mean, you can get some royalty-free music that's not too bad, and Tom and I can sing over it and make up words, and then everybody, you have a countdown. Countdown to new.
Well, you used to use my music as an intro.
Yeah.
We did. It was good stuff. I could play the full album of Tom's, just use a different song each time.
Yeah.
And, all right, something to consider.
Like a rock opera type thing.
See if people can comment and see if let us know if they'd be interested.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy Tom's music? It's actually pretty good. It's not as bad as you'd think it'd be. That's my review. You can put that on the website, Tom. Richard Allen, not as bad as you'd think.
High praise. I got that from my late brother. He one of my songs called Praying Mantis clearly has the best, most professional production. So I don't know what it was about it, but everything just clicked into place really naturally in terms of the organization. Writing the song was an absolute mission. And it took about 3 years on and off, literally working several nights every school holiday for 3 years. It took to write Praying Mantis, and but then the quality of the sound was just streets ahead of any other song. And I sent that one to my brother and asked him, and he went, "Yeah, I've got to say, not bad," which is like a personal Emmy award. I mean, for him to say it was anything other than the biggest piece of shit he'd ever heard in his entire life was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I know what that's like. I have family members that say pretty good is a high praise. That's it. But, as far as that goes, not that bad. I think that's one of the ways. That used to be my pickup line. Well, you're not doing anything. It might not be that bad. I know. Roll your dice and take your chances.
Oh, see women all over Ireland
and
running for their lives.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, some girls, in bars and clubs and pubs, actually think that way. I'm just saying. It's the confidence, Tom. I'm saying that. It's the confidence. Most of the time, you get a big slap across the face.
Well, speaking of confidence, someone who had far too much, and it's been all over the news this week, is that Spanish football president who, you guys know all about that.
Yeah.
It's totally overshadowed the Spanish women's soccer team's outstanding victory over England. Credits to Spain. They were brilliant. And I think the guy is the president of Spanish football or something like that. I'm not quite sure.
Yes.
But he was giving all of the ladies a big hug, and he gave one a kiss on the cheek, and then he kissed her on the lips. not like an open mouth sloppy snog or anything, but he did kiss her on the lips, and everything that's happened since then has only made it worse for him. If he apologized, it was very half-hearted, and then he was expected to resign. He launched into a tirade defending himself. It has emerged that I think it's emerged that he's been putting pressure on, like, the whole organization, the system is all like set up in his favor, and they've been, trying to pressure the lady, I forget her name, to drop her complaint. And to say, no, there was no issue, it was fine, I was perfectly happy about it. But he has invented a conversation that was meant to have happened very spontaneously when they're up there, when he said, I'm just going to give you a little peck, and she said, okay. But she said, no, that conversation never happened. That's a complete fabrication. So he has burnt any goodwill that he might have had from her. And and now loads and loads of players are quitting and loads of coaches are quitting. This has started in the women's national team, but I think it's filtering through into the men's.
The best thing he should do is congratulate a male footballer by kissing him on the lips as well. And then he could just be like, that's my thing. That's what I do.
Yeah, but, the thing about it is, and I will say this, in Spain, that's considered to be an act of sexual aggression, right? Or a sex crime.
Yeah.
And the reason for it is because it's a misappropriation, or not there's a what do you call that? An imbalance of power. In other words, she works for him in some way or form. And so if he were to say, listen here, I don't want her picked for the team anymore. You don't know if that would, the retaliation part of it might come through. No, the thing about it was, Tom, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it looks like to me, he grabs both sides of her face and then kisses her. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have a way out. Like, he's trapping her in a certain way.
I think, it does. And quite honestly, if she says she felt it was a sexual assault, then it was.
Yeah.
Because that's...
Well, she never said that, but, somebody was talking about it, from the Spanish legal profession, and said, well, technically it is. Well, and the other thing about it is that whenever they were interviewing after this happened, she said, no, I didn't like it. I didn't, and then she said, they both kind of said, oh, well, we know each other, and, it wasn't that big. But that's the extent of what she said. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, yeah, we talked about it beforehand and everything like that, and this is what was going to happen. And, like I said, don't do that kind of crap. It's just not. I mean, obviously he's a misogynist, you know what I mean? I agree with you in that case, but he should just resign, in my opinion. I mean, but he's not. And this might be the Trump effect. Now, anybody that gets accused of something, even if it's on TV or not, just denies it. You can't believe what you see. Believe what I tell you. And there you go. I mean, in a world of where you thought everything was going ahead, sometimes it's like one step forward, 3 steps backwards, and that's unfortunate. But if some dirty old man was kissing my wife or my daughter in a nightclub, I would have laid one on him. You know what I mean? And I don't mean kissing him. What's this now? What are you looking at?
We've got the kiss. We've got kiss. So let's examine it. So there we go. Kissing her on the cheek and then whack. So that's the kissing question.
Then right after that, he grabs her bum, doesn't he?
No, just
Oh, yeah,
pats on the back.
Pat on the
split second.
back.
Well, yeah, depends on how low her back is. Yeah. If
I
your
mean,
back
well,
has-
you know, what Tom said is accurate. I mean, if she didn't give consent, she didn't give consent. So,
yeah,
Yeah, it's. I mean, what if he had, properly owned this and said, "Yeah, I got carried away in the heat of the moment, but there's no two ways about it. That was totally the wrong thing to do. I need to take a good long look in the mirror, think and reflect on this and on what it is in me that made me think that's okay, because it really is not." I mean, if he'd have done, properly owned it and properly apologized and properly pledged to learn from it, maybe there wouldn't be the calls to resign. I don't know, but.
well,
don't worry. I've got a list of things not to do so you don't get accused of sexual assault on a daily basis. Are you ready for this, Tom? Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. So, number 1, don't wear anything provocative or revealing. Number 2, go out in large groups so that you won't accidentally get accused of sexual assault. 3, always remember to take your falsely accused of sexual harassment whistle with you everywhere. And 4, don't act too flirty or, into it with women so that you won't get falsely accused of sexual harassment.
Well, do you not
Oh,
think
for God's sakes. That's a great joke and no one's laughing.
no,
All right?
I think
It's
that's
just what women get told about rape, only
No,
the other way around. Okay?
I
That's the
understand.
punchline.
No, I was just
No. I'm done. I'm done trying to be funny with you two.
I
Okay?
I was more mortified by it, and all I'm gonna say is when I was watching the U.S. Representative of FIFA talking about it, she said, "Oh well, if that happened in America, that they'd be guilty of sexual harassment. We charge them." And I about shit my pants laughing at that. Oh yeah, if that happened to America, that definitely would happen. But
Were you really mortified?
I was
that.
by what you said. Yeah, because I'm just saying, there's no, I
All right, chat. There's like 6 of you watching. Did I go too far there, or was that dark comedy? Because
no,
I genuinely want to know.
it definitely was. But I think with dark comedy, you maybe you don't get it on the first pass. You know what I mean? When you reflect on it, you say, okay, he was trying to be funny.
I think there's probably too much truth in it for it to be that funny. It's
That's what I always say. You remember when that surfer that swimmer a few months ago got killed by that great white shark? When that happened, I immediately said, should he have put himself in a position to have been eaten in the first place?
Yes.
Look at what he was wearing.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny to apply the absolute bullshit incel logic that applies to women to, common, more mundane things. I think so anyway.
Well,
that's how I deal. It's brevity, though. So.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, I mean, men still use that as a defense in the United States. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's incel bullshit.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's utterly shit that a woman should be able to walk down the street like any man and not have to worry about being grabbed and molested, or have to put covers over their drink because they're worried about, date rape jobs, but they do. And it's ridiculous. And someone has to make fun of that. And I am the hero you didn't need or want or even deserve.
Yes. Richard, sexual harassment man.
well,
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 I love that. Gabby, get working on a costume. That's brilliant.
guys, is there any chance we can have a sensible, civilized conversation?
We were, but I mean,
not. It's like you don't know us at all sometimes.
Yeah, but I think I honestly don't know. I mean, and I mean, like I said before, I really don't know a woman in America. Honestly, that has never been groped, and that's even as a minimum, and it's very sad. It's very, very sad. But a lot of people were like, yeah, well, why bother? Why bother? They're not going to believe me anyway. So, they stuff it down, and it manifests later on in life for sure. So it's really sad. And I don't know um, if it's like that in the United Kingdom. I don't know. I've never really talked to a bunch of people like that, that have gone through that.
Is sexual harassment man for or against it? I'm trying to think of a pro. Sexual harassment man stands for something, Gabby.
Well, it's like that Wham song. If you're going to do it right. No, that's
totally my Halloween costume.
Yes, you're like the Green Crossing guard back in.
just walk around town at night and be like, "Don't worry, ladies, sexual harassment is here."
Well, I think you know.
Oh God, I'm crying. This is so good.
Halt, ladies. You're a serious risk of. I'm not even going.
Just look in alleys. Just come out from alleys.
Yeah.
Sexual harassment man prowls these alleyways in search of women.
I think it may be that later on, whenever we're discussing the Anders, that sexual harassment man may come back into the story.
Anyway, sorry, Tom, for interrupting your Socratic forum of intellectual debate.
All I was going to say was, in this day and age, us blokes, not only do we have to be rightfully, respectful and considerate in everything we say, but we also have to be incredibly careful for your own sake. You do have to cover your own back and remember that even the slightest little joke or anything could, you can be held accountable for. And it's actually, it's totally in your own, even in the most selfish of terms, which I wouldn't, normally subscribe to, of course. It's in your best interest to be respectful. This guy has made his life so difficult. I mean, he's not the victim. Don't get me wrong; he really isn't. But this is all his own doing. It's not he's busy blaming other people, but he needs to own this because he's done this to himself.
Right. And it's funny because, my age allows me to, stretch the gamut across the whole thing. Right. You could be, overtly, gross towards women and make jokes about women when I was growing up, obviously. And then, at a certain point in time, it became an issue of, well, you bet, don't say it, even if you're saying it behind, closed doors. And now it's, moved on to, just don't do it, don't say it. But, it seems to me like a generational thing where young children, not children, but young adults now and everything like that, really take an interest in making sure that everybody, feels like they're living in an equitable world. No, that might not be true because, again, this takes a long time to evolve. And some people want it to evolve much faster than I think society does evolve. And so again, then you get the blowback. You get blowback where people will say, "Oh well, he doesn't do it, so I'm not going to do it," and then that's the way that goes. But I just don't, I don't see the purpose of that really, because in a certain point in time, it's like I said, it's a horrible thing, and if it stopped happening to wives, mothers, and single people, I think everybody would be happy. But then again, that's the thing that's funny is, if it happens to your wife or it happens to your daughter, you want to go around and smash the guy, but some amorphous person that you don't know anonymously, if it happens to them, do you really care? And you should. That's my point. That's my point. But enough about
Good
that.
point.
Yeah.
No, good point. No, and it is a shame, and that's why I make fun of it. That even in this day and age, women are subjected to that kind of bullshit, and every mother has to have that conversation with their daughter. Watch out for your drinks in clubs.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's so sad that it's still that way.
Well,
it's terrible.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and so I was saying, well, yeah, I've been groped in a club. I've had some woman come up and grab it and things like that, and but she said, well, how many times is that going to happen in your life? Once, twice, maybe? And she said, well, yeah, if we go out, every Friday night's happening, and I guess that's the thing of it. It's the scale of it. Not that any of it is acceptable, but if you look at the vast amount of times that happens to a lady, I mean, it's, and people get groped at their work, if they're a waitress or whatever, and it's just, that imbalance of power, like I was talking about before, They say, well, nobody's going to believe me. And so, that's that type of thing. That's that. Anyway. So, Richard, you were going to talk about some nut serial killer again?
Some nut serial killer? No, I was just going to mention that Lucy Letby's lawyer sort of thoroughly disgraced himself. And Gabby, I got the picture, Gabby, but I can't show that on YouTube, sadly. But that is brilliant, and I love it. Thank you. She drew a little mock image of sexual harassment man. And I am here for it. All right,
Okay.
I'm going to send it to Kevin.
Tom,
want it?
Does it look like the Cuban fertility god in Father Ted, Father Hernandez?
Dude, you need to make it your new avatar.
I would.
You should. We'll look forward to it next week.
Right.
I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe Gabby can, if she could improve on. She rather than just doing something really hasty, she could really go to town on it and design you a new avatar. Richard, sexual harassment man.
Sexual harassment man, and going to town on it in the same.
Oh, Gordon Bennett, give me strength.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not even sure I see this as a laughing matter, but hey.
No, I'm not. No, I wasn't making fun of the situation. I mean, that's clearly. But I am a type of person, and I think Richard may be like this too. Is that if I get nervous about a subject, I laugh. I mean, and it's not anything other than nervousness. Some people freeze up. Some people. I mean, some people laugh, and I remember my first wife when we got married. She said, "If you laugh whenever we're up on the at the altar getting married, I'm gonna flatten you." That was the thing, and the more she said that to me, the more I felt like laughing. And it wasn't because I didn't take it seriously. It was because I was scared that I was going to do it. So then, it got that thing in my mind. I mean, I remember my friend and I had a bullet go right between our heads, and we both started laughing hysterically, and that was just our reaction to it. I mean, it was so terrifying that we started laughing.
Yeah. If you never mind if you don't laugh, you'll cry. How about if you don't laugh, you'll scream hysterically and suffer PTSD for years to come?
Oh yeah, well that happens. That happens anyway. But I think if you're predisposed to it, it's going to happen.
Just look at that poor serial killer in Canada. What killed that woman and got PTSD from it. Thoughts and prayers, man. Thoughts and prayers.
Well, there was a guy in Spokane, in Washington State, that he murdered 4 people at the college campus, and then he sort of ran away to Ohio, got caught, and he's back now. And he's just, he just doesn't, it seems like some of these people just don't care. They just don't care, and you can't figure out why. Apparently he wanted to kill one person, so he went into the house while 3 other people were in there and just murdered them on the way to this lady's room. I just can't.
But he was committed at that point, Kevin. You can't wimp out. You just got to do it. Got to grit your teeth and get through it.
Yeah.
Look at Ted Bundy in that sorority house.
Yeah. But would you
probably only meant to kill one of them, but they were all there. It's just.
But
boy, this is getting really dark now.
Yeah. That's why I want to talk about something else.
All right, let's move away from the whole topic of serial killers, and let's go to EastEnders Corner.
Okay. Richard and Kevin are gonna talk about EastEnders.
And it really annoys Tom.
I've just cleared off to go and get myself a beer.
Yeah. That's it. Tom just puts it on mute whenever we start talking about this.
So finally, Lola was back this week. Annoyingly, 3 cameos in the form of a picture on the Vic. We had the obligatory scene that they filmed after the World Cup and then inserted it into the pre-filmed episode of Whitney, Chelsea, and Zach commiserating the women's football team losing, which just, just whatever. I don't like it when they insert other scenes in. But anyway, we got some good stuff. We got Martin coming back from his Bulgarian job. We got the fallout from Eve kicking off last week.
Oh, isn't Ian Beale meant to be coming back?
Ian is coming back next week.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't Eve grab that lady this week?
Was it this week?
Yeah.
There was so much that happened on Thursday's episodes that I just got.
Because it seemed last week she, had said something about it to Eve, because apparently Eve had a twin sister.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, was killed in a car crash. And so this lady had come back, who Eve had thought she was going on a blind date with this person originally. And then she spilled the beans and said, no, don't you recognize me? It's me. You know what I mean?
That was last week. You're right.
Yeah.
That was the duff because Theo convinced Stacey to kick Eve out.
Yes.
And then this week we had Eve trying to kill that woman.
Yes.
And Theo being a sneaky little jerk trying to get the woman to go to the police.
Right. Well, so Suki, Stacey, and Theo were there to pull. Although Theo didn't try to pull Evie off. It was more of a thing of Suki and Stacey trying to get in the middle of it, and Theo standing in the back trying to, scheme about it. But again, this is just one of those things where he's, such a little creep that no matter what he does, at this point in time, no matter what he does, it's creepy.
I'm glad that Eve's cottoned on a bit.
Yeah.
And then she's like, And Martin's like straight away, oh, I don't like that Theo dude. So hopefully he gets this. Obviously, they'll do the bit where Stacey doesn't believe him and thinks he's just being jealous. they'll drag it on for a few weeks, and then Martin will be proved right, and hopefully that Stacey and Martin will get back together.
Yeah, but he did. But Theo did do something, really, really tragic. Or Theo,
Creepy.
yeah,
Breaking into Stacey's house and smashing it up, and then using that as an excuse to change the lock so he's got a key to the house.
yeah. But
just-
it wasn't just that, mate. Remember, he goes up to her room and then
Yeah.
slashes every bit of lingerie she bought, and snips some knickers, and then goes downstairs, and then pretends like, oh, this is dangerous for you, and I'm gonna change all your locks. And then
Yeah.
so changes their locks, and now he's got a key to their house.
Definitely a job for sexual harassment.
Well, I mean, this is the type of thing where I'm saying is that he's cold calculated, and obviously one of those people who, has thought this out in advance that this is how he's gonna sort of make her life miserable and drive her into his arms from himself.
Some men use, charm, compliments, roses, and flower, and some men use Stockholm syndrome. I mean, there is no right way to court the woman you love, Kevin.
Well, like I said, a lot of men are bold-faced liars, buddy. And in a situation where, and I'm not talking about, in a long-term relationship. If you go into something in a long-term relationship, I think you're genuinely honest the most of the time. You might, make it sound like your job's better than it is or whatever, but you're not, saying that you own a Ferrari and, come with me to the Casbah and all that. Just a bunch of bullshit where you're not even telling her your real name and everything like that. And so, that's what I'm saying. So, I think a lot of women have that, experience where they have no idea who they're going on a date with. I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat could comment about that. But,
So that's Martin and Stacey and Theo and Eve.
But that's not it.
That's not it. But wait, we've got it. We've got the awesome stuff happening with Peter Beale returning to the square. And then right at the end of the week, we get a few scenes with Ian and Cindy. Cindy has arrived back in London with Ian hot on her heels. Next week, it's all going to kick off.
Yes. And apparently where they are in France is 4 hours away from London on the Eurostar. So figure that out. You know what I mean? You can plot a map and see that. So Peter goes back, sees who is it, Bobby? And
Bobby,
yeah, he goes back and sees it's Bobby, and Bobby tells him, "You need to get out of here because you stole Mom's money." And Mom is not back from her honeymoon yet, but she's bound and determined to sell the chip shop. And so Peter says, "Well, I've got some ideas about it, and so maybe I could save the chip shop." But I think we all know what's going to happen to the chip shop.
The Channel Tunnel was built in my lifetime, but I still think it's weird you can take a train to France.
Yeah. Well, I remember all these, island people, separated from the Europe type people that didn't want it to happen because the thing that has stopped other nations from invading Britain would then be gone. The fact that there would be a tunnel from France to Britain means that they could do a sneak attack. And we didn't need one in World War II, and we didn't need one during the Napoleonic Wars. So why do we need one now?
Yeah, I watched a documentary once about this man who lived on the edge of a cliff, and the cliff was slowly eroding, and his house would eventually collapse into the water. And the presenters were like, well, why don't you move? Because you know it's coming. And he was like, we beat out the Nazis. We're not going to kowtow to erosion. And I was like, oh, God. That's British stupidity in a nutshell right there.
Was his name Mick? And did he own the Queen Vic or something?
No.
I don't care if it's eroding,
sidetracked.
because I'm just gonna jump into the water to save everyone.
We had Freddie was back to his usual happy-go-lucky self this week, which is good because I didn't really like depressed Freddie at all.
Right.
We had Alfie and Phil bonding, which was just a friendship I didn't see coming. I know I brought it up last week, but again, Alfie and Phil, what? You guys just throwing darts at a dartboard?
Well, I think it was like Phil feeling somewhat sorry for Alfie, and but then you can keep Alfie around and just throw jibes at him the whole time. But again, this is the whole British male thing where, a lot of times whenever you get into a serious situation where, you think you've got cancer or whatever, the idea of seriously giving somebody a roasting while they're going through something terrible might take their mind off the fact that they're maybe got cancer, but they probably think I'm a bigger prick than cancer. What do you think about that?
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Didn't think of it like that.
So one thing I find about that is that he had a CAT scan and then he had a blood test, and now he's having an MRI. And Phil had said that they don't do internal probing of the prostate anymore. Well, they do in America, I could tell you that much. We're supposed to have the best healthcare in the world, and some dude still sticking his finger up your bum. I think, anyway, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Well, it does matter whenever they're sticking your finger in your bum.
Well, obviously it matters that.
Yes. But, so anyway, we don't know if Alfie's off the hook yet with that. And then what else? We haven't seen Nish in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing rumbles online that people think he's the one that ends up dead this Christmas.
Oh, please.
I think it's going to be Theo, personally. I don't see any other way that storyline resolves itself. Most stalkers end up dead in EastEnders.
Right. Well, I think maybe that's true, because maybe Theo goes after Eve and Suki. This is when Suki and Eve decide that this is it. And so Theo's trying to beat up Eve. I think that's what it is. And then Suki comes in and grabs something and brains him. It wouldn't be the first time. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's it. We've got that big Christmas thing hanging over our heads now for the entire year. And again, I just think it's ridiculous that they did that, because never, ever in its entire history has EastEnders ever been able to pay off on a big plot point. Like, we all remember the Lucy Beale mystery. It was Bobby. No one cared.
Well, but, this is the thing, right? And
who was Cat's secret lover? No one cared. I mean, just don't build it up like this.
Yeah,
setting yourself up for failure.
I still don't understand how Peter Beale seems to finance a mansion in France by selling day-old baguettes. If that's the case, put me on some kind of a plane to France, and I will sell 3 baguettes and hold down my 5,000 square foot mansion.
Well, that was explained this week, wasn't it? Peter said he'd been helping out Ian with the money he nicked from Kathy.
Right. And Kathy will probably forgive him then, knowing the fact that, Do you not think that Kathy will fold up because she'll say, "Well, that's my boy." You know what I mean?
Hmm.
My one and only.
We'll see. We'll see what happens next week. They're coming back from the cruise. Ian and Cindy are coming back from France. It's going to be a good week next week.
And that bears into the fact that George is super pissed off in a way that the two girls have located the mom and tried to give her a ring, and is super pissed off that just because, and that's a sort of arrogance about it. Just because George has been calling and leaving her messages doesn't mean she's going to turn her back on her two kids. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm George. I used to be your husband. Well, maybe she thinks you're a dickhead, buddy. But she might not, do that to her own kids.
It's going to be a bit suckish for Bobby and Anna now that they're kind of brother and sister.
No, they are brother and sister, mate. And then Peter can't say anything about it while they're sucking face in the booth, realizing that.
Well, they're not related, are they? Bobby's not Cindy's.
Oh, okay. All right, then that's fine. That's fine.
They're step brother and sister.
Okay, so Bobby is not Cindy's.
No, Bobby's Laura's, isn't he?
Okay, well, I was getting the sheer creep on just thinking about that they were gonna put a brother and a sister together on.
Well, they're step siblings. They're not actual siblings. But
okay.
if Ian and Cindy have gotten married, then she'll be his stepmom and Anna's real mum, so they will be step siblings.
Yeah, but that's not. I mean, there's no blood. In other words, between.
Yeah, there's no blood. Their kids would be fine. They wouldn't be different. Well, I mean, neither one of them are the best looking. So.
Look at the royal family. It's not like they've had any problems with that.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
that's yeah.
Can I just tell you a little fun thing about my week?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're just wrapping up the EastEnders thing. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well, sorry, I don't mean to steal your thunder.
No, we've wrapped it up. Go.
Yeah,
that was it.
Cool. Well, and it was because it was my birthday this week. I turned 45. My family went for this lovely walk. It was as a natural sort of beauty spot by the White Cliffs of Dover, and it's the part of if those listeners who don't know, it's the part of the English coast that is the closest to mainland Europe. And they're absolutely beautiful. And you can go on a walk, not quite along the top of them, it's not dangerous, but by, just a few meters inland. And it's this lovely cliff top walk, and went to this lighthouse where had this massive, great, had a big old tour of it. And this guy was just talking about how, when it was first invented, when it was first used, what would happen is as soon as you'd pull into port, this is way back in like the 1600s and stuff. If you were sailing, and bringing in some goods of some kind, some spices or whatever you'd been buying and trading and things. When you'd bring that into port, they would check your manifest and see where you last stopped at this port and this port. That means you went past this and this lighthouse, like these and these lighthouses, and you owe us this much money from all the money you're about to make from selling all these barrels of beer or turmeric from the Philippines or whatever else they had, and they'd have to cough up just because if you've gone past the lighthouse at night, you have to pay a fee towards its maintenance. That was completely involuntary, and it was very lucrative. A lot of these lighthouse keepers, and more importantly, the knights that owned the land they were on, would bloody rake it in. So, the nemesis of taxation of a kind going back hundreds of years, if not thousands, hundreds of years.
Right.
But that was just really cool. It was a great experience. It was a beautiful day for it. Oh, God, I know what we can talk about now, because then we went swimming in the sea where we live, not naming towns, obviously. He says, just catching himself in time, and went to the sea. But then afterwards, a mate of mine said, Tom, you need to download the Surfers Against Sewage app. Because, Richard, you'll know all about this from your kayaking. In the last few years, Christ knows how it's happening, how it happens, and how it still happens. But water companies, whenever there's a storm, they see it as an excuse to chuck loads of raw sewage, untreated sewage, out into rivers, streams, lakes, the sea, and it is absolutely deplorable. But they seem to keep getting away with it. Richard, your thoughts?
Well, it's not that big of a deal. What?
Is there a problem up there in the Lake District?
Not really that much. People ride the bow wave, but nothing else. But no, it's not very minor. It's a very minor thing. That's probably why they keep getting away with it.
It's freaking disgusting, Nick.
It really is. It's not. It may be minor up there, but down here it happens all the time. You get rivers. I've seen the photographs. You get rivers where just thousands of fish are killed by this just completely untreated raw sewage that just piles through pipes into streams. It's appalling.
Yeah.
But because the water companies have some sort of clause in whatever contracts and agreements they're bound to, they have these little clause that says, in cases of extreme weather, to avoid sort of drains overflowing, you may at these times jettison some of some raw sewage to free up space. But no, it happens, and it's appalling.
Yeah, and it gets worse after chicken korma night.
Oh dear.
Yeah. No, there's certain things that are just, that happened at Ibiza not 2 weeks ago or something like that. Didn't you say, Richard? They were just trying to get out. And
yeah, they had to close the thing, the beaches, because there was too much raw sewage in the sea.
Right. And I want, it's just, it's hard for me to believe that, in a country that supposedly cares about global warming and stuff like that, that you're just putting that much pollutant out into. That's not, I know, air pollutant, but, that you're sort of spoiling the seas around your area just because you can. It just doesn't seem right. And anyway, they should have some kind of a tax on that, I think. Speaking of weird taxes, would that not be a good idea? A poop tax?
I'll tell you, I had a Vindaloo on my birthday that was absolutely brutal. It was easily the hottest Vindaloo I've ever tasted. This was pushing into the foul category, I reckon. I could only eat half of it, which is very rare for me. I had to have the rest for lunch the next day. It really, I was sweating buckets. It was almost getting painful, and I normally really like my chili. It works for me, but no, it was this packed a almighty punch.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about eating in one of those chili contests?
Mate, they're ridiculous. I saw one of those on Netflix. All right, get this. Either of you, can you name a current world record holder for the hottest chili?
What? The chili?
Yeah, do you know what it is at the moment?
Ghost chili
What?
or whatever?
Last I checked, it was the Carolina Reaper.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And the Carolina Reaper, when they're going through this contest and they're eating these hotter and hotter chilies, then it was out of 10, they get to Carolina Reaper on number 5. And I'm like, what the hell? Where do you go from here? Eat 10 of them at once or what? And they, and all the ones after that were these crossbred crazy things. These crossbred crazy things that were are really not even tested yet. They're not even certified, or they're not officially recognized yet. But they believe them to be hotter than the Carolina Reaper.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about chili in those sorts of levels and the concentrations, you are. I mean, I don't know when it starts to get dangerous, but these guys, they're trying to stop their bodies going into shock. They're trying to stop their bodies vomiting, which is the last thing you want, is that stuff coming back onto your palate with stomach acid. And they are, I mean, this stuff just gets ridiculous. I mean, I've had, I don't know if either of you two have had any really regrettable chili experiences. I've had a couple. I mean, I've had curries like fowls and stuff in the past. We used to have at university. We used to have a fowl with Carlsberg Special Brew. The idea being is each one made the other just about bearable. Spesh is an absolutely revolting beer that's really, really strong. It's about 8.5 or 9%. It tastes disgusting. It's to have fowls and Spesh, and it was horrible. But some of those, they used to have me, not only if you got the pain in your mouth, but you're sweating buckets. And I actually found I used to start going a bit delirious. I used to start, like, my head started to spin. I'd get a bit dizzy from all this chili. But the worst I ever had, oh my God, I was at a Mexican restaurant. And it was actually the day I met Hannah's parents, and as my wife's parents, and we were at this Mexican place, and in a nearby major city, and we had mine wasn't particularly hot, whatever paella I was eating or something, And I said, "Oh, can I just have a chili, please? Just one little chili on a plate." And they said, "Yeah, sure." And they bring me this little pickle thing, and it was the same size and shape as a Scotch bonnet. So like just a little bell pepper type thing. And I thought, oh, this will be like a kebab chili or something. I bit into it, and boy, was I wrong. I've never known pain like that from chili. I mean, this stuff was, I mean, it felt like that if my mouth was dissolving, it couldn't hurt more than this. It wasn't a form of chili I knew. It was like, I mean, imagine if you'd only ever drunk beer or wine your whole life, and then suddenly you drink a 40% spirit. It was like that. It was a whole new level. It was like acidic or something, and it burned and it stung like a mofo. And I was like, "Water, please, water, please, water, please." I didn't yet know that you needed to ask for milk.
You don't want water, you want milk and bread.
I know now, but I didn't know then. And I bundled off up to bloody off to the bathroom just so I could go and have a hissy fit for 5 minutes, because this stuff was so brutal.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So you don't get sort of nauseous when you're eating that. So how does the old starfish feel the next day? The rusty sheriff's bag.
Yeah. It the old Japanese flag is flying, and no mistake.
The old saying, if it hurts going in, it'll hurt coming out as well.
Yeah, that's all too true.
There was that bloke, wasn't there, a couple of years ago? Was it a few years back, who died in a chili eating competition?
Did he actually die in a I know. Last I checked, there had been one. See, this is the uninformed bit. There had been one recorded fatality from chili, and it was recent. So I don't know if we're talking about the same thing.
He home grew his own chilies. He made this really hot sauce, he beat his friend. He went home and then he sort of burned from the inside out. They never did a toxicology report on him to find out what happened. What was his name? Andrew? Anthony? Something like that. It began with an A anyway. And he died in a chili eating competition.
Blimey.
Well, and they measure these things with Scovilles, isn't that right?
Scoville scale, yeah, the Scoville scale. That's and that's how many parts of chili compared to parts per water that you need to dilute it to the point that it's undetectable.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what that meant.
Scoville rating of 2 million. If you've got 1 cubic centimeter of chili, you need 2 million milliliters of what's that? 2,000 liters? Yeah, 2,000 liters of water to mix that chili in, so that it would be undetectable. Not that it dissolves. Chili dissolves in water. It doesn't. It dissolves in lipids. Hence the milk thing.
Right. But I mean, that's insane because regardless of it, is the milk to calm down your the acidic content of your stomach, because the acid and the chili itself has a sort of a reaction that sort of makes it worse, you think? I've never really looked into it because I mean, you know me. I would get the runs within the first 2 chilies I ate. So I never really thought, well, why do you try to drink milk then? Because I mean, there used to be times when you drink milk before you went out for a night to sort of coat your stomach, and so you get
cheers. Sorry, carry on.
Cheers.
I was saying thank you to Gabby.
Oh, all right.
She found the name of the person who died, Andrew Lee.
And where was that? Where was that at?
London.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't that recent. It was 2008.
Okay.
That surprises me. That was London, because I mean, there's that's all the rage over here. You know what I mean? People do it, and I just don't know. I just don't know. But then again, people used to have the idea that British folks were sort of all foods were bland and not spicy or anything like that, and I just find that not to be true. It seems like to me that British folks almost like spice as much as Americans do. You know what I mean? And I suppose that's because, although you get that sort of Tex-Mex influence in America, you sort of get the Pakistani sort of Indian food influence, from the other side. So I don't know. Is Jamaican food very or Caribbean food very hot? Has anybody had that?
I think Caribbean food is.
Right. Well, that's it. We should go out for a Caribbean. Nobody goes out for a Caribbean.
A Caribbean, no. I don't see the point, honestly, in eating really spicy stuff. Like, I like my food a little hot, but the whole point of eating is to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be sitting there going,
it's not.
Well, do you not?
No, I really enjoy something hot and spicy. I did once, Richard, actually.
So does sexual harassment.
I once actually, Richard, and you'll know the reference for this. I'd once asked for a Shami kebab Diablo from the Indian restaurant just to see what they'd say.
Vindaloo is actually Indian for mouth-scalding gristle for white macho idiots.
Well, it should be.
Well,
I wonder what chicken tikka masala is. It would need to be said with a Scottish accent, as it was invented in Glasgow.
I don't know. Tikkas and kormas are weenies of the curry world.
Yeah, they're not. They're nothing special. Certainly, nothing to write home about.
Do you not think that the hotter it is, the sort of idea of burning your taste buds off would be an accurate statement? Do you think that would not overpower your mouth in a lot of ways and sort of burn? You feel like whenever you're eating that, it burns the roof of your mouth or something like that, or?
Well, it does. It does get painful if you have, but it depends. Everybody's different. I mean, some people really, really don't like it at all. You know, they have a real intolerance for it. Some people just are very sensitive to the heat and they really don't like it. And some people, like Richard, don't mind a bit. I like it quite a lot. But there are people out there who genuinely love absolutely excruciatingly hot curries. You know, people are worse than me.
Right.
Well, not curry, anything could be. I'll tell you, it's probably some Jamaican stuff. So, I mean, anything you buy from Levi Roots has a real kick to it. I mean, you know, he doesn't mess about.
I remember when he went on Dragon's Den, you know. And
was
now
that the
it's
guy
everywhere.
with the reggae sauce or not?
Yeah, that's the one. That's where it all started, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of
now you can find it in every Asda and Tesco's in the world. And
I remember when the reggae sauce you could get at Subway on a sandwich.
I love that there's loads of variety. There's all these drinks. There's ready meals. They've really, you know, expanded with some of that stuff. I think it's great.
I hate ready meals. I actively protest against them.
Yeah, I try and avoid them. There's not many vegan ones for us still. Oh well.
Oh, for God's sake.
Sorry. Well,
there shouldn't be any vegan ones. Veganism is a fad that needs to be wiped out.
Oh, stop it.
Well, wouldn't you think that, I mean, I know I'm asking a lot of questions today, but wouldn't you think that a frozen vegan meal is sort of the antithesis of vegan meals? In other words, isn't the whole attraction of vegan food being that it's, fresh, fresh and, wholesome and all that
yes,
stuff.
In theory, but us vegans, we're capable of being,
pretentious.
Well, not pretentious. No, just the opposite. We can eat we'll eat ready meals. We'll eat chips, crisps, sweets, cakes. You know, they do. You know, all those vegan burgers that I would imagine you despise, Richard, where we pretend we're eating meat when we're not.
I made salmon burgers the other day. They were really nice.
Is that the Impossible Burger, Tom? Is that what?
Yeah, they're actually brilliant. They taste delicious. Burger King's one is particularly good.
Yeah,
but you're still giving money to a corporation that uses meat. I mean, do you think the pounds in corporate HQ look different from the pounds they get from meat?
But the more and more of these boycotting them would only encourage them to say, well, fine, fuck you lot. We'll just keep making meat then.
As they should.
Whereas if we buy their McDonald's McPlant or the vegan Whopper or the KFC's one is really good as well, actually. You know, if we keep eating all of those.
What?
Then... Yes, KFC do a vegan burger and it's bloody good.
Oh, God. It's
too bad.
Chicken. It's Kentucky Fried Chicken. Why do they have vegan stuff in a restaurant that says it does chicken?
Well, they do a corn one and it's bloody great. Shut up. What's wrong with you? And anyway, point is, the more and more of those they sell, the more and more they'll be encouraged to say, oh, this stuff's not bad. Well, we should advertise this more and promote this more and we'll do even more variety like this. And
yeah, that's what they're thinking. They're not thinking, ha, gullible idiots, give us your money.
Well, but do you not think that the amount of hormones sometimes they plug into beef and chicken
No, I never think anything like that. I always think, this is delicious.
No, but
Well,
I'm
it
just
is.
saying, what if you have, do you not think that the food allergies are really coming to fore now? And there's lots of people that have, like whenever I was growing up, I never knew anybody that had a peanut allergy, you know?
Yeah,
Because
there
they'd
are.
all died because we didn't have medicine to stop them dying.
Okay,
There are, these things are coming more and more. There's more and more neurodivergence. Definitely, there's loads of things that could be happening to our species. Who knows?
I think neurodiversion is evolution, personally.
Yeah,
That's why we're getting
that's one
more
theory.
autistic people.
That's one theory. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, but
Or,
well, anyway.
or it's, autistic people don't do well in social situations, so maybe it's an evolutionary response to an overpopulated planet. And nature is trying to stop us from breeding. That's why homosexuality is on the rise as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
Not that there's anything wrong with autistics or homosexuals.
right. But the whole idea of what we used to call in past centuries, and when nobody really cared about political correctness, idiot savants. There seems to be still, there was great examples of that, throughout history, and obviously that great composers and people like that who could just produce really creative stuff, and it was just that they just couldn't tolerate certain stimuli, and but I mean, so we've always had that, and I'm convinced in my own mind that it's not that there's any more. It's just that we're so better at measuring it now. I mean, how were you going to measure it back in the day? I mean, like children with ADD, or ADHD, you would just say, "Oh, look at him. He's absent-minded, can't focus on anything, a daydreamer."
That was me, definitely. And it was only when I got to my mid-20s that people, that I was actually diagnosed with ADHD and began to understand, why it is I've always been procrastinating or trying to, trying to get things done at sensible hours and failing to do so.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. The type of characteristics that people show, as far as nervous legs and things like that. It's just not. People didn't look at that as anything other than a sort of weakness of the mind, that you didn't have this sort of idea. And in that case, I mean, there's not too many people who don't have some kind of a mental, I don't want to say illness, because I don't think it is, but a mental, anomaly. And so, and I really believe that, because you go through different types of things when you're teaching, and this, Tom. I mean, although I think you deal with the far end of the spectrum, but it just seems to me like children are children, and whenever I was in school, it seemed like I had the same amount of students in my classroom that I do now, but just obviously we sort of cater towards the needs of students now instead of just whacking them.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about before we wrap up. It's obviously the last week of the summer holidays now. What's that like for teachers? Because for kids, I remember it was a time of great sadness, going and getting school uniforms, being like, ugh. But I imagine for you guys, it's pretty much the same. You're like, oh, God, I've got to deal with those retards again.
Well, obviously, I wouldn't possibly think of or use a word like that to describe the children I teach.
Oh shit! No, you wouldn't. Fuck. Sorry, my bad.
Okay. It's nobody likes going back to work, do they? But
No.
it's interesting you ask, because I mean, my default would be exactly that. For most teachers, we feel as anyone would. But I'm determined not to dread it. I'm determined to look forward to it and be as upbeat and positive as I possibly can. And looking forward to seeing people again, seeing these kids again, because my children I teach have profound and complex needs, but they are absolutely wonderful. And I'm really looking forward to it. So, and yes, it is work. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, the hours will be late. Yes, the hours will be long. But I'm hoping the anxiety won't be overwhelming. And I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping it's going to be a really positive year, right? And there's a lot to look forward to, a lot to be happy about, a hell of a lot to be grateful for. Forgive the over the top SpongeBob SquarePants style optimism about work, but it's the way you got to be, as best as you possibly can be as a teacher, I think.
Well, how long before the students come back do you start the year personally? Because I've seen some school districts around here, they've already been in school for 3 weeks, but not with the children, but just
we have 3 days of professional development before 3
days. That's not
a lot. Normal in plenty of times I've been in school and it's been 1 day or 2 days. Yes.
Wow. I just remember whenever you go back, because the teachers with seniority, they always got to pick their class in a lot of ways, and so if you were new man on the totem pole, you'd get some good kids, but some of the other ones were the ones that nobody else wanted to deal with, and so that was a tough way to go, especially whenever you think how backwards that is. In other words, teachers who had the most skills, in my opinion, to deal with an unruly class never wanted to have an unruly class. And so the people who were least sort of prepared for that, it was trial by fire, if I mean, it's it's kind of a weird thing. But anyway,
I think that'll wrap us up for this week. We will return next week despite the hopes of many. And remember, ladies, if you're in trouble, sexual harassment will come and help you in the dead of night.
Gordon Bennett.
Good night, everyone.
Put out the sexual harassment sign or whatever, the lamp. Like Batman.
But